Fuel is one of the biggest expenses in our businesses, guys. And one of the easiest places for us to start saving is right there in fuel. Tonight, we're breaking down the real world fuel hacks that actually work, not myths, not hype, just practical ways to keep more money in your pocket. We're going to do that right after this. You know the deal.
Paying too much for trucking insurance? What if you could save more by making one simple phone call and keep more profit? You could very well do just that with one simple call to Seabright Agency, 800-366-6466. Call now.
Now here's a question that all owner-operators and small fleet owners should consider. What happens when you access the unrivaled advantages that are available through the ES Advantage program? We asked Jeff and Charlie from Contractors Corner to share their thoughts on how they've been able to utilize the discounts and services that are a part of the ES Advantage.
So we started looking for a way to save money on fuel. And we were turned on to the ES Advantage program for fuel first. So we got a hold of Jeff Reese, and he ran us through that program. And man, we were starting to save. And then we started talking to them. Well, we saw their website and we said, Jeff, what's this thing about insurance and accounting and
right.
You lease trucks? What?
Right. And that's the thing is we only knew it as a fuel card. And when we started digging deeper, I mean, we ended up getting hooked up with an insurance provider, Seabright Agency, and they created an entire insurance program just for us and our people. And from that, we've learned that, now there's even more potential. There's a greater opportunity. And it's completely opened up our eyes and broadened our vision into what it is we're trying to do, which is help people do better. Wrapped with the ES community just makes that process so much easier.
Now, if you're an owner-operator or small fleet owner and you would like to learn more about how you can drive savings to the bottom line of your business, the ES Advantage program has the discounts and services that deliver the kind of unrivaled advantages that are designed to help you improve your overall operation. Get connected with the ES Advantage today.
Look, I didn't do it to you this week, Jeff.
Good for you. I'm happy.
I'm going to do this instead.
Okay, Wayne.
Extreme close-up. Hey, man.
Hey, how you doing?
All the energy. Watch out. Watch out.
I'm tired today, man. I don't know.
Dude, me too, right? I got home early last night, too. That was a crazy thing. I mean, yesterday was a crap day. I'm not going to get into it. But it was just a long, crappy day. And I got home. All I wanted to do was lay down and... Exactly. Chris Hamilton was first. I honestly don't know who was second. It's so far back. Chris and I were just chatting back and forth for a while. Let's see. Let me try the next one.
Crap. Man,
Wimpy was second.
Boy,
Michael
you were
Fowler
going and going.
Right?
Oh, Michael Fowler.
Yep. I think that was just your brain, Donna. It didn't start in the middle. That was just your brain. That's okay. Sometimes, brains don't brain right. I'm just saying. I have a neuropsych consult coming up, Jeff. I forgot to tell you that.
No, you didn't. You've told me. You just forgot.
Oh, did I? Oh, okay. Yeah, I actually got an appointment.
Oh, good.
Like the day after I talked to them about it, they called. They're like, hey.
Excellent.
Yeah, right. Oh, I'm so looking forward to that. I'm going to get locked up. You guys are never going to see me again. Oh, crap. Vacation. Padded room. What?
Back when I was in the old corporate sales arena, we actually, at lunchtime, we would discuss, you can have yourself committed for like up to 3 days for an evaluation.
Oh, absolutely. 72-hour
And
lockdown.
that
I'm just saying.
72-hour break. They can't fire you.
They feed
Started
you,
to
treat
sound
you
pretty
nice.
good after. Sounded pretty good after a couple of years of the corporate drag.
Right.
But
Jeff
then
isn't dead on
you
the
start,
paper. He just looks like it.
and
My
then
bad.
you start thinking, but wait, then there's the stigma because that's something
Right.
that goes on like a record, a
Right.
public record. Yeah. So
You know, it
yeah.
can work both ways, though. You could use it later to be like, hey, you remember those 72 hours?
Yeah.
You know, they warned me about something.
Of course, I went from corporate America to driving trucks, so
Right.
maybe I should have taken that 72 hours to evaluate what I really wanted to do in life.
Right. I
Because
mean,
who
just
knew that I would be 20 years later talking about diesel fuel?
right. And with that being said, great transition, Jeff. I liked what you did there. Why is a fuel strategy? Why a fuel strategy is a business survival skill. That's one of the things we're going to be talking about. Quick breakdown, average cost per mile versus savings potential. This is about profit, not just price at the pump, right? Chris is a good example of this today. We were talking about it earlier. You know, he stopped at a spot and got, you know, like 50 gallons or something like that, $50 at a stop, so that he could get down the road to where this fuel was actually cheap. Right. So yeah, I mean, it's a little extra time.
Or like what I did the other day, Charlie. I put 60 gallons on just to top the tanks off, knowing I was coming to Virginia.
Right.
And I got to tell you, it's $1 more even with the ES card here than it was
Right.
in Tennessee. $1. But we'll get into that later, I'm sure.
Right. Mike Henderson said electroshock therapy isn't bad. I'm just saying, I
Well,
kind of like
anyone that grew up with a dad
What's up, Jonah?
that actually taught life lessons knows that electric shock is not that bad because we all stuck a fork in the light socket, and our dad just watched us do it.
He's like, you should probably try that out. How do you learn the
do that
stove
again?
is hot? Ow!
And you know, I never did those things again.
Right.
Of course, I also gray by the time I was 28.
There are quite a few things that I might have tried a couple times just to see if I actually didn't like it, but we won't get into those. Trucker Tim had a great week. It looks like 4,500 miles. Nice.
Good.
Oh, makes it for a 325-mile week last week. Yeah, that sucked.
Average it out, man. Average it out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a good average though over the 2 weeks. I know she wasn't a fork; it was a penny. I got inappropriate jokes right now. They're dying to come out of my face, and you know.
And you put me in timeout instead of you.
No, I zoomed in on me.
Unnecessary zoom.
Oops, and then I removed myself. That was I can't click. Why are we letting me touch buttons?
Because you're the master.
I don't understand. I'm like click happy today.
Is that a squirrel behind you?
Oh God, fuel cards and discount networks, says Jeff Leeds.
Do I?
Yeah.
So a lot of people think that we're just water carriers for ES on this one, but
Right.
we're really not, Charlie. What we advocate, what we do in our own businesses, well, Charlie does because I'm kind of linked at the hip in my operation to ES.
Right.
But what we advocate is having multiple means of purchasing fuel. You know, when I was at Swift, there was the ES card that I used most of the time. Comdata, you know, QTs, they are very aggressive in their pricing. You know, they even beat ES from time to time.
I got 279 the other day at a ES or a QT.
Nice. Mud flap. Sometimes mud flap is the best deal. Sometimes if you're at a mega carrier like Swift, sometimes the terminal fuel is the best deal. So there's your
Right.
com data, right? How do you know if you're not shopping for fuel though?
Exactly.
That's this whole thing of getting the best fuel prices hinges on having multiple ways to get fuel. Don't limit yourself. And actually taking the time every day, and I'm going to say that again, Charlie, every day to shop those fuel prices in your lane that you know you're running. You know, Charlie, you were just telling me that on the QTs, because you're a big QT guy,
Right.
that there's 2 QTs in your regular routes, and they kind of swap back and forth. Who's the
Oh yeah.
cheapest one.
So on that day, there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on that route, and they will. They'll pick one for a day or a couple days, and they'll put the crazy low price at that one, and then the rest will be kind of. I mean, they'll be better than everybody else, but nothing near like this. Like it was 30 cents difference. Let's see, 279. The next lowest was 309 out of all those, right? And of course, the closer you got to Atlanta, the higher the price, right? That's just how it goes. But yeah, but they actually put the one in Macon across the street from that Love's at 279. Now, keep in mind also, QT is infamous for having dead pumps all the time. I don't know why, but their pumps seem to always be jacked up somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So out of the 8 pumps, 2 of those are single pumps for, non-dual tank trucks, right? Out of the 8 pumps, there was only 3 working. And then the cheapest price on I-75 from Atlanta through Florida.
Wow.
It took a minute. It was 25 minutes before I actually got to the pump.
Yep.
But 30 cents a gallon, and I'm taking on 140 gallons. That was worth the time to me. I got a 30-minute break in before I got to the fuel pump. So, yeah,
Right. And when we first really got just anal about fuel prices, Charlie, remember, I was finding those mom and pops.
Right.
This is before we had ES and all that stuff. And one of the indicators was how many independents were at that truck stop. There were times where it took me 30 minutes to get to the pump.
Right.
But I knew that that had to be a pretty damn good fuel price if there were that many independents sitting there waiting for fuel. And Chris Hamilton, was it Chris? Somebody, Mike Henderson. Let's put his up there. This is exactly what we're talking about. The ES discount jumped like 20 cents overnight this week. So he ended up filling at the QT for $2.89, which I assume is the lower price.
Right.
He wouldn't know that if he wasn't shopping for fuel, folks. Right? So yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's definitely if you're not shopping.
Wimpy McPoke, fuel prices change every day at midnight. Sometimes more often than that. You remember when we had that vertical there for about a week, and fuel prices were changing like 3 times a day during that vertical. It was during COVID, wasn't it, when that was going on? And prices were jumping like $1 in 24 hours. And prices I remember one time I was at the Iowa 80, and I stopped there. And from the time I stopped to the time I got done with my shower and came back out, which was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the price had jumped 20 cents.
Right.
So it's not always at midnight either. I think that was an extreme case, but it's always fun to talk extreme cases because it gets people's dander up and then they talk more.
So Michael Fowler said, TA in Elkton, Maryland, the retail price was $5.59, the ES price was $3.27. $2.32 discount, right? That's a pretty significant discount.
You want to hear the other side of that, Charlie?
Yeah.
So I'm at White's right now, White's Travel Center in Virginia. And the pump price, I'd have to look at out my window or something, but it's pretty high here. You know, the ES price is only a 3-cent discount here.
Oh, wow. So, you know, you got to do that shopping every day.
Yep.
Matt, sorry. Yeah, these are the truck.
We got drama.
Yeah, all kinds of truck issues this week. They believe a check valve malfunction was the issue with his DPF system. As for the electrical short to trailer clearance lights, they had the whole fuse box torn out looking for the issue, but didn't find it. So I assume they fixed it having moved components, right? It's probably a loose or busted wire somewhere. It'll work every now and then, I'm sure. Or it won't work every now and then. That's the frustrating thing. When you can't nail down what it was. Drives me nuts. And all of a sudden it's fixed.
Well, you remember a couple of weeks ago, my truck wouldn't start, and it wasn't the batteries. I ended up getting towed to a dealership. Guy messes around with the wires, gets in the cab, starts it right up.
Right.
But they said it could take them days to actually track down where the short might have been. So I had the choice to roll the dice and keep on rolling, or wait that couple of days in a hotel. And so you guys, what would you guys have done? I can tell you what I did. I rolled those dice. Truck's working, let's work.
Yes.
And I haven't had the problem since, so I don't know. You know. Yeah. Gremlins, man. This truck's got almost 350,000 miles on it right now, so I don't know. Well, hey, Matt, but you know, if you have Seabright insurance, okay, I'm just gonna put that out there, and you got the personal effects coverage, they'll cover up to $2,500 of your personal effects, as long as you're not in the truck. Yeah, I covered more because I have some expensive equipment for the show in here, so I actually covered it for about $5,000. But, you know, if you get it short and the truck burns down, if you're not inside it and you have your cell phone with you, I don't know, is that really a loss? I'm just saying.
Yeah, Craig, you need to share all of your stuff that popped up there because that's just crazy.
Yeah.
So Matt's truck lit up like a Christmas tree. Craig had issues. I mean, you know, and we're talking about Freightliner and Volvo.
Right.
You know, Matt said he's got less than 7,000 miles on his, you know, it's crazy. All right. So what fuel card do you guys use? And does it actually save you money? And if so, how do you know that?
Yep. How do you know? Again, digging in the numbers, right? You know, when I first started using discount fuel purchasing, I actually kept track of how much money I was saving at the pump every time I used it. And I would send screenshots to Charley.
Hey now.
And then show him, hey dude, this is how much money I saved. And then I would send a message to Donna too, and she would be just like, yay, you know, because let's be real, the Donna gets most of the money because she's running the household.
Look, Sage got one of those free memberships just now. That was funny.
Did he?
Yeah. Still not good. So, like, full disclosure, Chris and I were talking earlier, and I tried to gift him a membership. I didn't really understand how it worked. So I gifted a membership, and I gave it to Craig Hutchinson. And I thought Craig was here. Nope, he wasn't even there. Then I tried another one. I gave it to someone else. Then I tried another one. I gave it to someone else. I'm like, screw you, Chris. And then I just did 5, and Chris still didn't get one. That's funny. I'm just saying. Hey now, Sage, now you don't have to punch us in the junk, bro. See, look, we did listen to something.
Hey, I listened. Let's be clear here. Charley.
Hey, Jeff,
I had to remind you.
There is no I in team, sir.
So now we're a team. Okay.
Yes, today we are right this minute.
He has to turn it on.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah, it absolutely hated Chris today. It was fantastic. I enjoyed the hell out of that. I was trying to game the system with Chris because why not? And it totally just didn't work. It hates him. I think the random number Jesus out there is not Chris Hamilton's friend. Let's just say.
Okay.
Oh, let's just go on to the next segment, Jeff.
Yeah. Hey, we got plenty to talk about in the second half of the show, guys. We will get to it.
Right. Route planning for fuel efficiency, avoiding those fuel deserts and overpriced stops, using apps and GPS systems for planning, and realistic versus ideal routes, profit versus convenience. So, full disclosure, I actually fuel more days than not now for convenience.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the perfect spot where I know I need a 30, and from there I can make it all the way to wherever I'm going, right? And my fuel up time, using the restroom, grabbing a bite real quick in there, fuel, all that generally builds up to about 30 minutes. Yes, you did, Ida. And yes, Chris, I love you. Don't forget that. So I do tend to fuel for convenience. That way the fuel is almost always done on my shift. Rosie, I mean, she'll do it. It's just not her favorite thing to do, right? I mean, she actually stops at one of those places that I fuel on a regular basis on our way up into the Alabama area. But, it's just easier if I do it and she can just focus on the driving and whatever. And for me, it works out. I mean, I'm still using almost exclusively the QT networks. Which still gets me a pretty good price. I could get probably a better price on the ES. Well, I could get a better price on ES a lot of days, but it's in weird spots that don't kind of work with my schedule, if that makes sense. But I'm aware of that too. I know what it's costing me, and for us in our operation, the convenience outweighs the cost for us. But it's something that we're very aware of. You know what I'm saying? It's not just a willy-nilly. It's no, this makes sense to us. What happened?
What?
Sorry, I can't read chat right now. I got focus issues.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking at discount locations, some of these different cards have different fine print in them, or membership fees. And when you're calculating these prices, are you calculating those fees in it? Nasdaq's a great example of that. They have their annual membership fee, and then some other things, and you're agreeing to utilize that fuel card for like 70 or 80% of your fueling.
Right.
I mean, you're contractually agreeing to that, so there's those sorts of things. And if you're not paying attention to those, maybe you could have got a better price even just using a con data card at a QT, because when you add in the back end prices, the membership, whatever, maybe the price is higher. And are you checking IFTA rates? Because I actually screwed up. What was it? 2 weeks ago, I think I told you about it, Jeff. We got all the way down to Lake City. I had already fueled up in Alabama at the QT, and the 1.9 in Lake City was the exact same price as the QT in Alabama, which was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That
Which one's
never
got the
happened.
higher fuel tax?
Yeah, significantly higher fuel tax, and
In Florida, right?
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, dang it, man. And it was on a night when we were coming home, because I fill the truck before we go home. Don't ask, just go with it. And it would have been perfect. Just didn't even think about it, man. I'm just so used to that
Well,
not being in the market range.
Right. And you were talking about fueling for convenience. And, I rarely do that.
Right.
There are times when, like just the other day when I fueled up before getting up in here into the high price zone.
Right.
I didn't want to. I had enough fuel to get here. I had enough fuel to get parked. But then I knew I was going to take a 34. My APU's not working right now, so I'm idling. I did not want to stop, Charlie.
Right.
But I did it anyway for the savings.
No, I get it.
I've gotten so used to it, if you will.
Right.
And the thing for me though is once I have my plan for the day, I got to think about it. I got to be like, okay, this is my plan. Let's not deviate from the plan. Because for me, every time I deviate from that plan, I'm like, no, I'll be okay. Well, then I end up needing 100 gallons at $3.65 when I could have paid $2.65 the day before.
Right.
Because as you all know, we don't know where we're going next. All I know is that I'm going into a high price zone, the Northeast. I don't know if I'm going to go to Maryland. I don't know if I'm going to go to Georgia. I don't know. And so that's one thing I want to bring up, Charlie, is you got to do the best you can for that day with the variables that that are for sure.
Right.
Now, in my lanes that I run, my best fuel prices are usually in South Carolina. I know that. Better than Tennessee even. But I can't guarantee that I'm going to Georgia next. So I've got to make the decision based on the known factors.
You actually set that question up perfectly. How far out do you plan fuel stops, or do you play it by ear? For you and me, typically, it would fall under the play it by ear type thing. I'm planning it by the trip. Mm-hmm. You may not know where you're going, like Jeff was saying. Maybe you're headed to California next. Maybe you're headed to Georgia. You're in the middle and flipping a coin. That could be a very different scenario.
Right. Now, my last stack of loads, though, that got me here, I went from, where was I? I was in Ohio.
Yeah. Ohio.
Went to Dallas and then went up to Oklahoma and came here to Virginia.
Right.
Now, that was 4 days of running that I knew where I was going to be. So I was able to plot that entire route and find my cheapest fuel prices along that route. So that was really nice. That's not normal for me, Charlie.
Right.
To be able to look that far ahead. What do we got? We got a graphic here.
Yeah.
All
so,
right.
Fuel smart routing checklist, right? That's what we created for this one. Pre-planning your fuel stops, compare regional prices, which is what we're saying. You need to check the prices along your route. Even look a little bit off the route, right? I mean, if the savings is significant enough, I've gone maybe as far as 50 miles, depending on and then as far as route planning, let's just dip into that too, because I think that plays into this. If you're taking the route that's driving straight uphill for a day versus a gradual climb, how does your truck react to that? Even though maybe it's a few more miles going the slow gradual climb, or maybe it's less miles going the straight up, but depending on the straight up, I mean, you really need to know your truck. How does your truck perform? Rosie and I tend to take longer routes to where we go. And again, it's a convenience thing for us. It's more comfortable. We have spots along certain routes that we prefer. Sticking to major fuel networks, because I'm not a fan of the mom and pops. I'm afraid of them. Like, full honesty, I'm afraid of the mom and pops. I'm afraid that they're not pushing enough volume sometimes at some of them, and the price may be right, but then you find out you've gone through 10 fuel filters and had a bad tank. Right. It's just me, and that's a decision I made. Avoiding the high traffic areas. I think that's
Spit it
probably
out, Charlie.
well. Sometimes because of the high traffic areas, they'll compete. Other times they're like in each other's pockets, so they're like, "Screw it, let's just set it this time." You know.
Well,
Atlanta's
if you're
a market
shopping
like
for,
that,
or if you're shopping for your fuel, though, if you know,
right?
Oh, what's that app? But not Trucker's Path, the other one that we were using. It's been a minute.
Why did you do that to me?
Anyway, there's apps out there where you can check the real-time fuel prices along any given route.
Fuel book.
Fuel book.
It was there. I couldn't get it out.
So you can look into like Atlanta. What's
Right.
the petrol in Atlanta charging today versus the Loves that's just west of Atlanta.
Right.
You can look it up. Spend the time. You know, when we first started doing this, Charlie, it would take me a minute. To do my fuel shopping for the day. But I've gotten to where I've just made it part of my pre-trip in the morning, every morning. I do my walk around, check my tires, stab them every once in a while, you know, the stuff you do. And then when I get back in the truck, I spend an extra couple of minutes shopping for fuel before I leave.
Right.
It's like any other thing. It's like any other task. The more you do it, the better you get at it. The less time it takes to do it. You know, back when we were really pushing the fuel gauges before recent unfortunateness with that.
Yeah.
I have people saying, "Well, it just takes too much time to enter the data."
Right.
And here I am with my phone at the pump as I'm hanging it up.
Yep.
You know, 10 seconds. That's what it takes to enter the data into an app to figure out what your real fuel
and that was too much time, you know. Yeah.
That was too much time for that guy. And I'm just like, whatever, dude. I mean,
well, you know, it's like the thing at Target with us taking pictures of these trailers now, right? We have at least 6 pictures we have to take from very specific angles. And the first night, Rosie and I were just so damn frustrated. I mean, it took us like almost an hour, I think, you know. And now it takes us, you know, even with a badly taken care of trailer, you know, we're done in 10 or 15.
right.
Which is normal pre-trip time anyhow on a trailer, you know, depending on the condition of the trailer, of course. But, you know, we can zip through those pictures on we've got some brand new trailers that don't even have a mark on them, you know, that'll last a day. But, you know, 6 pictures done. One of them we take before we even, you know, I actually pull up in front of it and Rosie takes a shot of the front of the reefer because that's one shot you have to get and you can't be connected to take that one, but whatever. So that's one of the 6 already, right? So whatever. Hey, you know, it just, you get into a rhythm. Right. And the last one on the checklist, minimize your idle time. And Jeff and I laughed about this earlier because, you know, he was idling because it's hot. And we get that. But, you know, I mean, there are times, you all know, there are times when, you know, look, some folks don't take the heat well. Some folks don't take the cold well, right?
Yep.
If you're screwed on both of those, well, you better just find the cheapest damn fuel you can get. I'm just saying, period. Every time, every day. But, you know, take advantage of those times when you do know that, hey, man, I don't really need to run it today. You know, like Rosie and I, we got that little window mount fan that's, you know, in the little pop open on the Freightliner. A lot of times in the right scenarios, even down here in Florida, you know, in the evening, if we're waiting on a load or something like that, we'll turn the truck off.
Yep.
It could be in the mid upper 70s still, but it moves enough air that we don't sweat to death and die.
Right.
Right. And,
you know, that is one thing I miss about my 22 Freightliner is that the Western Star does not have that feature.
Mm-hmm.
At least mine doesn't.
So, you know, there's these things you can do. Some of them, you know, some people are like, no, bro, no. If it's above 62 degrees, I am running the AC on high nonstop. Mm-hmm. Well, okay. I mean, that's you. I get it. You gotta make sure you're getting enough rest. You are going to be operating safely because of it, right? Um, I get it.
Yeah, I was in Laredo the other day, and it wasn't quite that hot. I think the high when I was down there was 102,
Right.
and it would cool down to 80 at night.
Yeah.
It's not so much the heat that gets me, Charlie. It's the humidity.
Right.
Humidity is a killer for me.
Look, the heat just gives me a reason to lay there naked. There's a picture for y'all.
Hey, now.
Careful when you knock on my window. Just saying.
Yeah.
You're welcome, sir. Segment 3.
I've seen you in shorts, and that was bad enough.
Right. I got beautiful flamingo legs. One of my friend's moms used to call me flamingo leg.
Oh, okay.
She really knew how to make a guy feel good about himself in his formative teenage years. Just saying. Man. Never forget that. Flamingo legs. Come here. Knees bend backwards. I'm like, no, they don't. They could. Whatever. Mile per gallon boosters and maintenance moves, Jeff.
Maintenance, man.
Tire pressure.
Maintenance is so key to fuel mileage. People don't even know.
Right. So we already said idle time, keep that down. Tire pressure is one that a lot of people overlook. Not enough air, too much air. These are things that could actually affect your fuel mileage. Not to mention, losing tires. And your speed. I know you guys love that topic. How fast are you driving, bro?
Right. And, you got to realize, like, I've been driving a lot of higher speeds than I normally would run. But, again, I've said this before, they're paying me to do it.
Right.
I'm like, well, gosh, that's awful tight. Can you throw down an extra couple $100 for fuel on that?
Right.
At the mega carriers like a Swift or a Schneider or those guys, a lot of people don't realize, that they plan their loads based on something like 52 miles an hour.
Right.
It's a really low speed. So you start thinking, is there an actual reason to do 70 miles an hour?
Right.
Well, I just want to get there. Why? You're going to get there and sit? So you're going to burn all that fuel going faster. And it's in the middle of summer, so you're going to burn all that fuel idling your truck if you don't have an APU. That's a lot of money to waste just because you don't want to do 60 miles an hour.
Right.
So we get back to that whole, what does that behavior cost you? Now, if you know what that behavior costs you and you're okay with that, I got nothing else to say to you.
Right.
I don't. It's your business. You run it the way you want. But I'm saying you could make more money on the bottom line.
And don't come bitching at us talking about, I can't make enough money, bro.
Well, you spent $200. You and I just did the same amount of miles, and you spent $150 more on fuel than I did because you were going faster.
Right.
Okay, that's what we're talking about.
This load don't pay enough.
It pays enough for you to go 60.
Right.
It doesn't pay enough for you to go 75.
Yeah.
That's the way you got to start looking at it, guys. It's folks, I should say. Charlie and I are into this PC thing lately, so
I don't even know why.
Because we're good people, Charlie. That's why.
That's why. Aerodynamic upgrades, worth it or not, Jeff? Want to dip into that?
It depends on the upgrade.
Right.
Matt just took his frisbees off of his drives. That one, Schneider did a big study on that, and it saves 0.5% per
like 10,000
wheel position. Per wheel position that you put them on. So that's not measurable on a single truck. Now, if you're Schneider and you've got 5,000 trucks, that adds up.
Right.
So on their company trucks, you'll notice they all have those Frisbees on there. But it makes sense for that operation because you're looking at the volume of it. For a single truck owner, not so much. The flow below system, it's going to save you a couple miles per gallon. It's been tested. It's been proven. So 2 miles per gallon or 0.2 of a mile per gallon, isn't it? It's two. I got to be sure I'm talking the right thing here. It's going to save you. Okay, so according to the data, it can save you up to 1 mile per gallon.
Right.
In best case scenario. Worst case scenario, they say it's about 2 or 3 tenths. But even at 2 or 3 tenths, that's measurable, bro.
Oh yeah.
You know, especially as the fuel prices are higher, you're looking at for every 1/10 of a mile per gallon, saving $1,000 a year in fuel. So 3/10, that's $3,000 a year.
By the way, the national average is up 10 cents this week.
Is it 10 cents? Really?
10 cents jumped this week.
It jumped, didn't it?
Right.
Good for you. Good for you, Swift guys.
We'll see.
With the good surcharge you guys have over there. But yeah, more important when the fuel prices are high, less important when fuel prices are low. Even when they're low, though, I don't think we're ever going to get back to $1.50 fuel, Charlie.
Right.
I think that ship has sailed. So that being the case, as long as the surcharge is in place, which at most carriers, it stops paying out at about $1.20 a gallon, I think is what it is. Unless we get that low again, aerodynamics is absolutely going to help you.
Right.
But the right aerodynamics, those air dams you see on the Peets, on the 379s, actually have been shown to lower your fuel mileage, by the way, just so you know. They look cool.
Right.
The big spoilers, the chromed out spoilers.
Yeah.
They do nothing. But putting a cap on your truck, we talked to Alan Becker about this when he had his mid-roof.
Right.
For about $4,000, he could put a cap on that thing when he went drive-in so that the top of his cab matched the top of the trailer. But that was going to save him about 1 mile per gallon by doing that. So that's $10,000 a year. Return on investment on that particular item, less than a year. So that's what we're really talking about with aerodynamic improvements to the truck. Unless you're buying a brand new truck and it's just part of the deal to have all the aero stuff on it.
Right.
Look at what the return on investment is on that thing. Find out, okay, manufacturers lie, first of all. So be buyer beware on this. But actually look and see what they say that's the fuel mileage saving is going to be on that item.
Right.
And then look and see if any carrier like, say, Schneider, because Schneider does this all the time. Those people, man, they're still testing the autonomous trucks, man. They're still in that game.
Right.
They are really big into testing new technology over there at Schneider. So see what they're doing. You know, what are they putting on their trucks?
And then wait and get the data from them.
Mm-hmm.
Because
they're also really, they're really good at publishing their data. So see if you can't get a hold of that before you make your choice on what to put on there.
Right. Mike Henderson, what's more important, money or sleep? For me, it's sleep. I only stop 5 or 6 hours a day, so losing an hour is a big deal to me. Absolutely. And, you know, that's exactly what I was saying, you know. Definitely figure out, you know, what's going to get you adequate sleep, because if you're sweating to death, that you're probably not sleeping well. Right. So, I mean, yeah, there is that factor, and I definitely don't argue that.
Please tell me that you only sleep 5 or 6 hours a day because you stop for 10 hours a day. I just had to put that out there.
Okay.
We are a 100% compliant group.
Hey, what if he's a mentor?
Okay.
That would be a valid statement.
Yeah, sure.
A team
mentor. If he's a good mentor.
Right. Where was I? Oh, maintenance. Sorry. See, this is why I'm glad we have these notes now, Jeff, to keep us going, because we would have been lost right there for sure. Maintenance, keeping those fuel filters like clean. You know, you can. I when I was using fuel gauges like every day, I could see that my fuel filters were getting dirty, just based on my fuel consumption. You know, I've been tracking it so long that I'd be like, oh, that's a filter right there. You know, or an air cleaner.
Air cleaner, yeah.
You know, waiting for those restriction guides to pop up. Not always the greatest. If you start to know your truck really well because you're constantly tracking everything, you'll notice that certain things, and sometimes it's trial by error. Let me change the filter. Oh, that didn't change anything. Oh, let me change the air filter. Oh man, look, my fuel mileage is back to where it was. You know, I mean, there's a couple, and those aren't really expensive things to worry about, and they're pretty easy to do yourself for the most part. You know,
or you go get yourself a fleet air filter.
Right? Clean it every month or every 3 weeks, whatever, you know? Oh man, there's just so many things.
Overhead.
Right?
People don't even think about things like the charge air cooler and the overhead, right? Those are two things that will absolutely affect your fuel mileage. So you change all your filters, right? And your fuel mileage is still in the tank. What's the next step, Charlie?
Yep.
Reset the overhead. Check do a pressure test on your charge air filter.
Yep. Make sure those tires are at right level.
Charge air cooler. Sorry, guys. Got a filter on the brain.
I got you. But so quick recap, top 5 fuel efficiency habits for truckers. That's us, in case you guys are wondering. Maintain proper tire pressure, minimize idle time, watch your speed, install smart aerodynamic devices, you know, weigh the cost to the ROI on it, and keep up with your maintenance, because if you're not maintaining that truck, it's not going to run right. And if it ain't running right, it's not going to get the best fuel mileage that it possibly could. With that being said, what's the one fuel saving habit that worked for you guys? What did you guys find?
TK knows what it is for me. I'll let him answer for me.
Look, like full disclosure, when Kevin Rutherford told me way back in the day, just start tracking your fuel mileage and you'll see it drop. Didn't even change anything. I was just tracking it. I was like, that's such a BS statement. Lo and behold, there it was.
You pay attention to what you track.
Right? And you make these little subconscious changes that are, you know, affecting that to the better, because you want to get better fuel mileage. You know, it's going to put more money in your pocket. It's going to, you know, make things better for you overall, your family, your everything, you know. It's just a thing. So that brings us into this last segment on front end of the show, guys. What are you guys doing in the real world here to save on fuel? You know, there you go. Installing the Halo system. Slow down and shop for fuel. These are all important things. You know, it's all part of that, you know, playbook that you need to have, that toolbox, right? Not necessarily a physical toolbox, but you know, that might not be a bad idea either. But having that mental toolbox for, you know, okay, here's my fuel savings toolbox, here's my this toolbox, you know, setting things like that and building those systems in your head become that good habit. You know, like Jeff said earlier, you know, when we first really started shopping for fuel, man, it took us forever. And then it just became second nature. You know, do it while I'm smoking a cigar and drinking my coffee, getting ready to start my day.
Yep. You know what buttons to push in what order?
Yeah. You know, it's just, you don't even have to look at it. You're just like, okay, I'm going from Phoenix to Atlanta tomorrow, over the next 2 days, what have you, you know. I've got this much fuel on now. Where's the best prices along the route today? You know, chances are they might be that tomorrow, But watching
Yeah,
the
it's
market,
not 100%,
it's
but
probably going to go up tomorrow.
yeah, the prices might go up, might go down, but chances are your fuel stop that you picked today is still going to be the cheapest tomorrow, even if the price went up.
Right.
A couple of them that I noticed aren't necessarily the same that way is West Memphis.
Yeah. Right.
The TA, the Petro, and the Loves seem to go like this. So you got to kind of watch, especially if you're on a discount card that favors those two chains, which I can't mention. But if you're on a fuel card that favors those two chains, and there's a Petro and a Loves at the same exit, watch it, because it'll go like this day to day. So even if the Petro was the cheapest yesterday, it might be the Loves today. You don't know until you check.
Right. Yeah, Mike's been a mentor 25 years. Yes, he's a good mentor. He runs a hard
I did it,
and then gives them
I did
his
it.
day off.
I did it for 13 years and got burned out hard, dude.
I didn't make it that long.
So good on you for making it that long.
Heck yeah.
It's definitely needed, especially for good mentors.
And we like Mike.
I want to be like Mike.
Right? I want to be like Mike. I should never sing again.
No.
This little light of mine. That's Matt's favorite song. I'm gonna let it shine. My bad. What was I doing? I was doing something else. I don't even know what, Jeff. Let's call this the split on the show. How's that?
Okay.
Because good Lord. Train wreck happening, sir. If you're tired of losing profit to fuel costs, you need smarter systems. In RWE community, not that I can say the letters, we go deep on profit per mile, route planning, and business first trucking. See what we did there? Just saying. Join us at rwedrive.com and start keeping more of what you earn. And we're gonna be right back. You guys know what I'm gonna do. I can't help myself. I gotta do it. Can't help it. Must be done. You're either running your business like an owner or like an employee. And if you're stuck in that employee mindset, you're leaving money on the table. Company drivers wait for direction. Business owners create opportunities. Company drivers chase miles and just drive. Business owners chase profits and know their numbers. Want to run a real business? Start tracking your numbers. Know your cost per mile and start saying no to bad loads. Drop I run a business in the comments if you're done thinking like an employee. If you want to take this mindset shift further, join the Road Warrior Entrepreneurs community at www.rwedrive.com, where we have profit boosting strategies, coaching calls, and real road warriors winning together. Jeff went away. He doesn't like me anymore. He's done with me. He's not gonna be here again. He hates me. Oh, there he is. Hey, Jeff.
Hey.
Didn't we just say I'm not supposed to sing at all?
Yes.
And you left me alone. See what happens? This is what happens when I'm unsupervised.
Yep.
Just saying, it's not my fault. Everybody knows, don't leave me unsupervised. I was going to go work this week by myself.
Rosie won't let him, though.
She absolutely said no. We're just going to go to work a day later so we can spend our granddaughter's birthday with her.
That is a good reason right there.
Yeah, I just figured, I was going to go work and whatever. And she's like, absolutely.
Go be the man.
Not. Yeah. I was going to let her spend the day, well, the rest of the week with the granddaughter, and, it would have made Jenna happy. And I was trying to be accommodating, and she told me no. That's what I felt like. She was very diplomatic about it.
That's what happened, Charlie. She said no.
Yeah.
And then you said, okay.
Yes, dear. Happy wife, happy life. Whoop, whoop. Just saying. Michael Fowler, the route system on the ES app is a big help. Yep. For sure. And Fuel Book, ES, their stuff. There's a few things out there that work pretty good. I I like Trucker Path's thing, but I hate that they're so deeply in bed with just the big five.
Yeah. And their discounts aren't really that great. I've been watching them.
Right. They'd be nice if you could tap into that with, like some of these other cards and be able to feed them your cards and pull those prices. That'd be neat. But of course, nobody wants to share that data.
That's what is nice about Fuel Book is that if your discount card is registered with them,
right,
you can put their code in there and you'll get those prices. But most of the better cards like ES and Nastic, they have their own proprietary app. So,
hey, Matt Nissen, are you parked? Calling Matt Nissen. It's an exciting show right here.
I don't think he ever got moving, did he?
I don't know. I know he's very upset.
That makes for good TV.
That's what I'm thinking.
So check this out. We have one of our members. See if there's any mechanics out there. I haven't seen Narc in here yet, but
Narc, where are you?
So she got into a pickle. Her DEF pump burned out apparently. The dealership she's at, it's a Kenworth by the way, says that, hey, you have diesel fuel in your DEF tank. And we're trying to figure out how the heck that even happens unless somebody did it on purpose. She's pretty upset at this point because if it's because there was contaminated DEF, then that blows the warranty out. No warranty if it's quote operator error unquote. So not a great thing for her. Just wondering if anybody's had that issue. I know I got some low quality DEF in my truck one time. It ended up just being moisture. So what they did was they cleaned out my DEF tank, put it back on, sent me on my way, and that solved the problem. But my DEF pump wasn't burned out. So
right. Yeah, I'm gonna see if Narc will pop in. I don't know what he's doing right now. I might be able to catch him. Okay. I think that'd be a cool one to ask him just to see what he says.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
especially in light of that, she was doing some research on the Kenworth website, and there's a known issue with I don't remember what it was, but there was a known issue with the Kenworths where
condensation.
Yeah, condensation. Oh, I know what it was. The DEF heater was kicking on when it wasn't supposed to, which caused condensation in the tank, which caused moisture to be in the DEF, which caused the burnout of the DEF pump.
That's nuts.
Now, that was on Kenworth's website, apparently. The dealership looked at her like, you crazy, lady. Won't even look into it, which I think is
right
as it comes. The other thing we asked of her was to try and get a benchtop test of the DEF to prove that there was diesel fuel in the DEF, which that's like a 5-minute, pull some DEF out, put it in the bottle,
right?
Test it, and they won't do it. So that's suspect to us. I don't know, man. Any Kenworth guys out there that have dealt with this sort of thing, DEF pumps just plain burning out.
It just seems crazy, man. And they're being so adamant about, no, you screwed up. And I brought this up in our conversation earlier. I actually wonder if it's, oh, well, you're just a girl.
Well, she's a girl that's also a mechanic, by the way.
Right. They don't understand that. She came from a heavy duty mechanic background.
Yep.
Oh my God, she's rebuilt motors and replaced pistons and rings and all these things, and you're like, I couldn't argue with this lady. I mean, no. Could she have accidentally done something? Sure. I believe she may have not done that though.
Well, the thing is, like we were discussing too, the nozzle you can't even get the nozzle for
Yeah.
a diesel pump anywhere near getting inside of a duct tank. You would have to do one of these from out here.
Right? And just hover over the hole. No.
Ida says they had that happen to 10 trucks back to back. So Ida, what ended up being the issue there?
That was brutal. Yeah, Ida. What was the issue? Type faster. Magic fingers.
Well, keep in mind that she's 20 seconds behind us.
Right? I know. That's what's even better about it. Oh, my
we're
God.
all thinking we're live, but it's not really live.
I'm gonna do this one more time.
20 seconds.
I'm gonna do it again, Jeff.
Okay.
Let's see. Chris's last chance. Drum roll. Chris. Oh my God.
Did you get one?
No. Oh my gosh. So I'm just going to list off who got them, Jeff. And I want to see your face. M.
Okay.
Urfy. Trucker Todd LLC.
Oh.
Lady Dilo, who I like, Dolores,
Mm-hmm.
but she's not a real frequent person, I don't think. Hamey got one.
Good.
Fran Mariah, I believe that was someone who hated me. And Tim Ransom got one. No, that's Tim Ransom. Yeah, he already got one earlier. So there you go. I just thought that would be funny. Sorry. I don't know. You know,
So Tim says he always dumps the fluid out of the DEF nozzle before putting it in his tank.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. So you're the reason why there's that white crap all over the pumps.
Right. Puddles on the floor. Oh man, that's funny. Yeah,
Mike Henderson.
Go ahead.
Mike Henderson. We had a new driver in Denton Target put DEF in the reefer.
That's
something special right there.
That is really working at it. Man, is that working hard to do that. Because, oh, no, just not even going to get into that. That's just, you need to slap them.
So the DEF thing is blue. The cap on the DEF is blue. Diesel is green, although there's no color on a diesel cap, but still.
Tiny nozzle.
Tiny nozzle. Big nozzle.
That's hot.
You know. Little spring on one of them. No spring on the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Not that the spring helps with the newer trucks with the cap on the passenger side. Gosh, that's a terrible design.
Yeah. You're welcome.
You're welcome, Todd. Long time no see.
Right. Well, I was going somewhere. I just lost my train like 2 minutes ago. That was awesome.
It left the station.
Yeah, apparently it was going somewhere cool, and I'm not going now. But that's cool. Ida said she can't prove it, but she thinks someone was doing it while the trucks were parked at the DC. Oh, that's
So sabotage. Then.
Sabotage. That would suck. Another reason I'm glad I don't leave my truck there. I did for a long time, and I always just felt so weird having it, 100 miles away from home, from me.
That would be uncomfortable for me.
It really was, man. I don't even know how you do what you do. You know what I mean?
I absolutely do not leave my truck at that TA for a week at a time.
Right? I'm just saying, man.
Although I might have found a place to park my trailer finally in Salt Lake, so we'll see.
That
if
would be
pans
cool.
out.
Yep. This is one of those relationship things, Jeff.
Well, yeah. So how that might be panning out is, so I was talking to Colton Lawrence today, the trucker CFO, who we highly recommend for tax stuff. Yeah, he used to be part owner of the Wabash dealership in West Valley City, Utah. So I said, really? That's the one that you used to have on? I said, so do you still have contact with your former partner? He's like, I absolutely have contact with him. I said, any chance that I could park my trailer right in his lot?
Right.
He said, let me text him and find out. So that would allow me to take my truck home, because now that I live in an actual neighborhood, Charlie, I can't take my trailer with me.
Yeah, they kind of
no
frown
place
on
to
that.
put
I don't know why.
Well, you've been to my house. There's no way to get a trailer in there.
That'd be
I'd be scraping that guy's RV on the corner.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't mind it. All those rich people, they're fine. Don't worry about it. Just spend their money, Jeff. They don't mind it.
Yeah. Hey, there's Narc.
Hey, Narc. If I send you a link, can you pop in? Because I think it'd be easier with your voice if you wouldn't mind.
We got an actual maintenance question for you. But yeah, it's that would be so cool. Because if I have to go to like the carrier to get my APU repaired, like I need to now,
right?
They've only got like 5 spots that they don't use for reefer trailers, and they will not let you park a trailer in the reefer lot, period. Because they repair reefers and APUs. They need that spot for their business. And
hey, Mike, I'll send it to your email if that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, just pop in whenever.
And it's right in front of employee parking, and it's kind of a pain in the bum. Actually, last time I was there, I talked to the yard dog, and he agreed to put the trailer in for me. So that was cool. But yeah. I'm definitely, Charlie, the way things are right now, I'm of that opinion that it's better to ask forgiveness than permission.
Right.
I do, in all fairness, I do always fill the truck up at that truck stop when I'm going back out on the road, because it happens to be the cheapest fuel.
Right.
So they do get some money out of me.
What questions you guys got? We're gonna need some guidance here tonight. I'm just saying. The first half was fairly strong, Jeff.
Yeah, I liked it.
It's been a weird night, man. It's been a weird couple weeks, to be honest. Let's just be real. I really enjoyed the hell out of last week's show with Sage, though. I'm not gonna lie. And we got some good responses. I think quite a few people say, "Man, I really like that." Well, yeah, okay. Not Jeff's strongest show, because me and Sage were just going at it, just left and right.
Did I get any words in? I can't even remember.
I think it was like 4, maybe.
Okay. Well, you got 2 guys like Charley and basically 2 Charlies on the show. And so I just have to play Ed McMahon when that happens. Yes.
Oh my God, it's hilarious. I felt bad afterwards a little bit, but
Well, I did get my important questions off to him.
Right.
So, and he did answer them. So I appreciate that. But he's definitely a character, that guy.
I definitely want to get him back again.
Guys,
I think that was a good discussion.
If you guys notice that we now have a membership option for our channel, so if you'd like to support the channel, we'd appreciate you signing up for the membership. Charlie, you want to talk about that a little bit, since you set it up?
We got things.
Okay.
If you're on YouTube, you click on the join. It'll actually list off what you get there. It's nothing huge, guys. To be honest, we don't have the time right now We're planning on adding some perks to it later on. Perks are like the little icon and the green name. Like, it's funny because Narc actually got one of the free gifts earlier. I've given out, I don't know,
So
13.
does Sage.
Yeah, I've given out like 13 free memberships, and I have no control over who gets them. It just randomly throws them out there to people who frequent the channel. So it just purely randomizes it and gives it to whomever. So Narc got like one of the first ones. He wasn't even here, which is hilarious to me. I was trying to actually hook Chris Hamilton up because he's always here, right? And not that I don't appreciate everybody, but me and Chris were just going back and forth earlier when I set this thing up. And Chris Hamilton he didn't get one. It's hilarious. Out of the 13 so far, he's gotten nothing, and it's kind of funny because it clearly hates him. But as he says, I still love him, so that's okay.
That's right. And yeah, Trucker Todd, who we haven't seen in probably a year,
right?
Got one.
Glad you're still out there fishing, Todd.
Oh, life is so entertaining. Don't do that. Did you read the private chat, Charlie?
Nope. Oh, great.
Yeah.
How much fun is that?
Yeah. It's not.
Yeah. Well, we may have to bounce early if you need to. Just let me know, bro.
All right. If it gets that bad, I will.
Yeah, but I mean, it's funny. It totally just.
Yeah, Todd, from what we understand so far, it's not necessarily that you're subscribed, but that you've shown up on the show. They've made comments.
Yeah, it basically says that people who frequent the channel. So okay. Whatever. I literally was just trying to give one to Chris Hamilton earlier today, and I've given out 13, and everybody but him gets one. So there you go. That's hilarious. It just hates Chris, and that's fun. Hey, there he is. I'm gonna throw him up here with his fantastic looking face here. Bam!
What's happening, fellers?
How you
Tell me
doing?
it's been
in paradise,
nap.
man.
But luckily, you guys have the outreach to get a hold of me and get me out of the nap. So
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I don't want to wake
you're
you
all
up.
right. You're all right.
So, Jeff, late on him because you have the story down better than I do.
Okay, so we're talking about a 20.
I'm gonna give away another 5.
22 Kenworth.
Okay.
The DEF pump went out on it.
Yep.
They're saying that what caused it was that there's diesel fuel in the DEF tank.
Nice. Kenworth Packard engine or Cummins engine?
Cummins.
Okay. So they're saying diesel fuel in the DEF system.
Yes.
Is that what you told me? Okay. Sorry. I swear. Literally, when literally, I just woke up. Okay.
Now
wow.
they've also refused to do a benchtop test of the DEF to prove that it's
Yep. Yeah, they're not going to do a pressure test on the any kind of lines or anything for the DEF system, right? Oh, that's a good one.
Right?
All right. Let's break the phone out here. I mean, let's break out the Google AI because that's the best mechanic. That's the better mechanic in the room. I promise you that. All right, Cummins. DEF. By the way, obviously everybody in the channel can do exactly what I'm doing right now.
Right.
I'm just because AI is. I mean, I think we talked about this. I think probably you guys talked about that too. But the AI now, it's not. It's like anything. It's not always right. But the AI overview is amazing.
It can get you pointed in the right direction for sure.
Yep. Selected kind of.
Excuse me.
Let's use room. That's
exactly how I read right there.
Yeah, no, it is. It is as I process.
Write him a long text and see. He'll call you. Be like, bro.
Hey, okay, a stupid question right here. What and right? It just set your mind. This is an ongoing thing, right? I realize they tested it. it happened when they tested, but this is an ongoing thing. They think, like, not somebody that did something silly and threw in some, some diesel in their def line. I mean, in their def tank.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm asking.
Oh
Like,
no, they're saying that she put diesel in her def.
oh, okay.
But
Well,
she's
I was
adamant.
trying to think of a way that it crossed. Okay.
Right. So she's adamant she absolutely did not. She ran 500
So-
miles after fueling, and she has a heavy diesel mechanic background before she got into trucking.
Right.
She did engine rebuild, piston replace, rings, the whole 9 yards, bro. So she's not like the dents out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And they are. I
And-
really feel like they're doing that. You're just a girl thing.
Yep.
What do you know?
And there's a known problem. She got on the Kenworth website, and according to Kenworth, they have a known issue with the DEF heater kicking on when it's not supposed to kick on,
Yes. Yep.
and causing moisture to build up inside the tank, and that causes the burnout.
Yep.
And they told her, "You're crazy. That doesn't happen."
Right.
Well, it's crazy. See, this is where we talked about. Man, I can tell you, I can tell you a story in a minute about dealership people. If you watched my rant last week about this new kid that I have working.
Oh no, I missed that one.
That's so. When I was at night for my short 9-month stint there, I don't know how many of those heating units that we changed on Cummins, on international, mainly internationals. We didn't do a lot on the because obviously on Kenworths we did more on the internationals because all the internationals tonight are ordered with Cummins in it. But we did a lot for that. Wow, I don't know. I'm telling you, I don't hear as many stories as I used to. Probably because I'm not as active, but
Right.
that's unreal. It's sad, is what it is. But we all know.
Well, and here's the thing: is if it's operator error, the warranty is void.
I mean, there is no warranty if they can prove it. That's the trick, right? Since if she admits it, it's completely off. And I don't even. There wouldn't even be. Obviously, there's not a warranty. There's not going to be a warranty, especially if she's admitting it.
But she didn't. She swears that this did not happen. I'm not a dope. I did not put, diesel in my def. Not to mention, she would have had to hover the damn hose over the little tiny nozzle receiver on the def tank, and the mess that would have made on the ground. You would know you did that.
I don't know what I don't know. Yep. I'm trying to figure out though. Okay, so what parts actually cross that can make that happen? There is, because let's see here. So,
well, the two systems are isolated, right?
Yeah. So the only part that wouldn't be isolated technically is if there is some way that there is pure diesel going through the exhaust, right? Like
backward.
Pure, yeah. Somehow, like if for some reason, let's see, like if an injector cup, if there was a cylinder that didn't have any compression in it, and it was allowing, and obviously, but if you had a cylinder that was dead, there would be other issues, so you wouldn't have it. Unless it was very, obviously very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very infrequent, right? Like where there was a cylinder that just every once in a while, for whatever reason, was dead. But I don't even know how that would be possible because it couldn't. Diesel engines are fired on compression, so that would mean the rings would lose. Something would lose compression, or valves would be staying open. Then technically, you wouldn't have any diesel going. I guess you'd have it going out the exhaust, but it would. I don't know that it would be enough. That's the problem. I don't know how it'd be enough that you could ever freaking that they could. Well, okay, and life on 18 wheels. That's what. But the seventh injector is not connected at all to the diesel end, right? So and again, you're whatever. I think everybody knows. I'm not trying to call anybody dumbasses, but your DEF system is in a separate box right here. Like you can put your DEF system over here, and you can put the diesel side over here, and none of them should ever touch.
Right.
Technically, until after that, the SCR, right? I mean, that would be or your car or your filters. That would be technically when they would come together.
Right.
Air quotes.
Right.
I mean, technically, I guess before the filter, whatever. But because the seventh injector is just plumbed into, at least on Cummins, right? Detroit's big secret. Detroit runs mostly Cummins stuff. If you peel the stickers off, at least it used to be that way, right? If it doesn't, that's why it's not stamped with the Detroit emblems on it, but it is stamped with the Cummins emblems on it. But that tubing is all. It comes from the tank, right, or from the pump, and that's it. It doesn't cross onto a diesel side at all, unless somehow she has a major valve. I mean, it would almost have to be a major valve train issue. That would almost have to be, but at that point, you would have other engine issues. I would think. I don't know how you could. I don't know how. That's a good one. That's a pretty good one,
bro.
It's a pretty good one. I actually don't know of anybody that I've ever talked to that has told me they put DEF in their diesel. They put DEF in their diesel. I've had people put DEF. Am I saying that right? I'm sorry. I don't know anybody that put diesel in their DEF tank. I've had people that put DEF in their diesel tank before. There's actually a YouTube channel of a landscaping company that they've done it twice to brand new Fords.
Oh, God.
Guys have blown up a brand new Fords, a 2024 and a 2022.
Yeah, Mike Anderson earlier was talking about they had one of their students use the DEF pump for their reefer.
Yeah, because like I said, 100. I don't know. There's not a way for me to put it up, but. Yeah, the systems are completely separate.
Yeah.
Because like on like mixer trucks is when you order them, if you were to order one, is you order the truck, right, with a Cummins or a Detroit in it. When you buy them, that's your two options. Doesn't matter. There's only a couple manufacturers, but doesn't matter the manufacturer. And then you order the DEF system secondary. Because it is put on after the fact, right? They drop the engine in, and it's sitting there, and then they put on, depending on what system you order, whether it's a left or right side exhaust on the truck itself.
Gotcha.
And so there's technically, they drive the truck with no DEF system on it to a secondary shop that puts on the after treatment system, and plumbs it in and does all that fun stuff.
Right.
Drops. So, and that's the same way on the semi truck. It's just all compact more, obviously. I mean, I don't know. Well, that's a good one. I'll have to look into that.
I just like.
Yeah, because being as it's new, somebody wouldn't be under there, per se, dicking around, right? Because you could tap into a line, right? Like you could try to tap into. I mean, they're just fittings. They're just lines, right? You could always try to tap into a line under there, a stainless line or a fuel line. I don't know why you would do that.
So Craig asked a valid question. And that's actually something we Jeff and I talked about earlier. Is it possible that the last place she got DEF could have a contamination of diesel during delivery?
Hey, that's pretty smart.
But how would you prove that now at this point?
That's the problem. Because because that's actually probably makes a more the only way you could even come close to proving it is if you relatively knew where the problem. Obviously, it became a problem immediately. so you could backtrack
500
your
miles.
last few, your last few fill ups, because technically, right, over the road's so much different, but technically, right, your DEF system's not firing 24/7, obviously.
Right.
So in their computer, right, if they dive deep enough, which you don't have to dive that deep, they can pull up all the firings of the seventh injector, and they can pull up all the times in the Insight programs of when it called and when it called for a regen and temperature readings and all that stuff.
Right.
And somebody could backtrack to find out obviously when it happened, and then you could try to track up off of mileage and hours of the engine. Right. And try to figure it out that way, and then see if that truck stop or wherever, you would have to try to see if there's other trucks, but I don't know how the hell you track the other trucks.
Right. And that's the problem. You have to depend on them being honest, saying, yeah, we had a couple people come in and say we had some bad junk.
I mean, because there again is, I don't know the process, but if they somehow failed an inspection,
right,
through the state or something with a test, but I don't know if they actually
test.
I don't know if they test fuel when they go and do calibrations on, like fuel pumps and stuff.
Yeah, I think all they do is check the gallons per second or whatever.
Yeah, they're testing pumps to make sure they're not overcharged. They're not doing any of that. They're not overcharging, and they're not. They might check them to see, make sure there's no dye out in the country store or something, but they're not doing that at Love's.
Yeah, it just sucks, man.
Yeah, that does suck. I can only imagine what kind of problems. I mean, did the truck just shut off? I can only imagine what that.
I don't know exactly what happened. I just know that she derated 500 miles down the road.
It derated to the 5 mile an hour point.
Yeah, that's I said shut off, but you're right. I was thinking when I said that, I was like, oh, he went into a straight derate. In a count on a Kenworth, there's a countdown. They probably all have I don't know. They're countdowns now, but yeah, that really, because and I don't know, don't take any of these numbers to heart, but I know on a set like a seventh injector, when its atomization rate is way it's way bigger microns than a regular injector.
Right.
So that's the same thing as why you can't atomize diesel in a fuel injector, is because of the I don't know what the word is, how small you can get particulars when you compress everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because DEF injectors are not, because urea and stuff's not like fuel, right? So it's not. I mean, it's all pretty much. I guess diesel fuel's so fucking man-made, all man-made basically too. But I know urea's not. It's bigger. Its microns are much bigger when it fires, or whatever you want to call it. I guess it's firing.
Right.
That's unreal. That's crazy. Holy cow!
That's crusher, isn't it?
Dump narc.
That is much crazy. What you guys want to hear? You want to hear a funny story?
Of course.
So I'll tell you. So, and this is just me being a complete asshole. That's all there is to it. Because I train. And I'm not trying to brag for any on the haters, but is at where I'm at right before I was at the company I'm at now. I don't know. I'll say I was there 6-7 years working on front discharge mixers. Of course, I left for like 8 or 9 months and went to night, and now I'm at the place I'm at now. I've been there. We're almost a 2-year mark. I think we're at like a year and 10 months or something, or 9.5 months. But neither here nor there. As per the world is I run when I started with them, I ran like our east side of the Indy plant or yard, which was right down the street from my old job that everybody that follows me knew about. On our east side now, in our brand new in our newest plant, newest yard, blah blah blah, whatever. Running it. And of course, I think I've told everybody probably at length, but I only have like 8 drivers. I have 12 trucks, 8 drivers, right? Not a whole lot. But they send all the new, anybody, they when they hire somebody in, they we can't keep. It's 100% pay related. I don't bitch about pay because everybody maybe is bragging, maybe it's not, but I don't know. I've set myself up for anybody that follows me knows that, my family pays for everything apparently in my life. But,
Right.
I mean, in real life is, I've just never, I don't have new cars, right? I have, high-end
Not
hobbies.
deep debt.
Right. So I never bitch. I mean, I feel underpaid, but I'm not going to gripe about it because I have a
Right.
pretty good job. So with that being said, is we go through lots of mechanics because they're just chasing money,
Right.
and that's a sad way of the world because I think every place is like that to an extent now. I mean, obviously we see it in trucking, but we hire in these kids, which seems to be the only people that hire in, and I call them kids. I'll be 45 in a couple of months. Most of them are between mid-20s to early 30s, it seems like. Like, I don't ever get like a 38-year-old guy coming through, and I don't get a bunch of 21-year-old kids coming through. It's usually like that mid-range. None of them, again, not knocking it, none of them have gone to school. I'm not really hating on that, but,
Right.
I grew up on a farm. I probably didn't have to go to school.
Right.
To do this, right? I'll be honest.
Right.
Trial by fire, sir.
Yeah, I mean, the school more than anything afforded me to come out of school and go start working offshore and making really excessive money instead of working at a fucking local dealership or a Love's trying to hack it together. But these kids all come in and they all tell me the same thing. Is the first thing I ask all of them is because they may be running a shop very quickly with help because we just again can't keep anybody
Rolling through them. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I always ask them, have you ever ran a shop? Have you ever been alone, right? And done, because if you work at a truck dealership, you work at night transportation, you work at any, it doesn't have to be a mega, but any bigger company,
Right.
where there's more than one or two mechanics or more than one mechanic in a shop, there's usually a service writer or a parts guy or somebody, and they take care of all the, I mean, I do everything. And again, right, I'm not trying to brag, but I do everything. I mean, if we need toilet paper, I order it, right? If we need chains, or rebar for the guys to haul, and of course, I mean, our company would probably help, right? But I mean, if our yard's running low on that stuff, that falls on the mechanic on duty,
Right.
and that's how all the yards are. And of course, they all tell me that they were a service manager or a lead or something. And so the kid that's here currently, and he's still here, and I give him for this because I usually throw my hands up. I threw my hands up mid last week, right? I just throw my hands up, and I just come in and do what I got to do. And if they have questions for me, I try to answer them and not be a complete asshole to them. But I kind of quit giving out tips because it doesn't help. It doesn't go anywhere. It ends up backfiring on me half the time. But as he comes in, said, "Hey, no toolbox. Do you have a toolbox?" Oh yeah. I'm having trouble getting it here. And I don't know. I don't ask my boss how many days they've been talking. Right? Did the guy call in at 3 p.m. yesterday afternoon? And you told him to be here this morning. So I just kind of let it go. It's fine. It is what it is. I usually, try to press them to get it there within 3 or 4 days, because I don't like loaning my shit out to anybody, but we always work together, right? And he said, "Oh yeah, no, I worked at," and he named off every dealership. I worked at Kenworth. I worked at JX, which is Peterbilt, which Kenworth JX, obviously PACCAR. They all talk to each other, but they're separate. But they all know each other because of the PACCAR deal. I think he's told me either Stoops or Andy Moore, which now is owned by a different company, which is our local Volvo, which is they've been bought out the last couple of months. So, anyways, and then he named off. He said he saw my night sticker up on my box, and he said, "Oh man, I worked there too. The place sucked." And I said, "Well, I don't know. I liked it at night." And he said, "Well, I was a tire guy. They made me a tire." And of course, I don't say anything, but I said, "There is no tire guy at night, right? I know mechanics at night right now. I know the service writer at night. There is no tire position. A tire position is because either fuck something up or you can't do anything else, right? If you're doing trailers and tires at these places, it's because that's the safest thing they can put you on, that you can hopefully, technically not cause the least amount of damage, but cause the least amount of damage while it's inside the shop, probably, right? I mean, if you're not finding plug nuts, it can obviously, we all know it can cause damage. But and I knew right then, right, when he named off the dealerships, and and he's younger, that he's floated around, and everything I talked to him about is he knows. And I said, well, these trucks are different, right? Are you familiar with hydraulics and pneumatics? And our whole day is putting fires out. That's all we're doing. We're not doing, And the very first thing he told me, the first day, it was a rainy day, so a lot of drivers were there, or were in the shop. We weren't running loads. It was humid. I was trying to get some of the ACs online, mixer trucks for anybody that is bored and wants to ever look, in which I don't know why you would, but front discharge mixers, engines backwards. We know that. Fans facing backwards. The very front thing, or the very first thing in front of the fans on all front discharge mixers, both brands, is the condenser, which would be opposite on a semi truck, right, where you would have it outside your grill, right, or right behind the grill. So as these trucks obviously rolling down the road with an open hood, they're just flinging, chunks of sand, concrete, whatever else into the condenser 24/7. We all know the problems that would bring with your condenser. So we don't, and I have, even though a newer yard, I have a few older trucks. So we don't try to change condensers just because there's a little baby hole. We just, don't testify, but we let that go back to where it came from, right? The refrigerant, and I just top them off with like 1 pound cans or 12 ounce, as they lose cooling ability. So I'm telling him this, and I'm like, look, 9 times out of 10, these guys, it's going to be empty or it's going to be very low. So, throw a thermometer in the dash, go back there with a 12 ounce can, take 2 or 3 of them. Most of our trucks hold 4 1/4, which is about what a truck does, but obviously lines run from the back all the way to the front, right? So there's a lot of volume there. And I said, look, if the compressor doesn't turn on, we can go grab a power probe. We can force the compressor on to suck out, suck the refrigerant down. Right. Or you can let it, they're aerosol cans, so obviously they'll force themselves. It just takes a minute. He says, I kind of turn him loose and I let him go. It's kind of safe, right? I hope he knows not to put his hand in belts and the fans and all that fun stuff, right? I go inside and probably do absolutely nothing and shoot the shit with the drivers. And for like 10 minutes later, he comes in and he's like, no, this thing needs a condenser. I can see marks in the condenser, right? Like oil marks or rings around. And I said, yeah. I said, look, they all are going to have that. I'm just telling you, right? You see where it's at, understand how the truck moves, right? And what the truck does, right? Not changing condensers, just because they have a couple little holes in them, right? If it won't hold fluid or, refrigerant, then it won't hold refrigerant. We got to do something. And so then the next thing he said, so, well, if we change the condenser, I'm going to need a machine, right? I'm going to need a machine. I'm going to need a catch can. I'm going to need this. I'm going to need that. Right. He said, I'm not going to lose my 609. For anybody that doesn't know, that's the little 3-hour class, class that you take to be able to go buy 20-pound jugs of refrigerant at your local parts store, right? Or wherever. I don't even know if it's $100 class these days. Maybe it is. And he's like, I'm not going to lose my 609, for venting. And I said, dude, look, this is your first day. You've told me your little background. I don't foresee you staying here very long, but I said, I've been out here, and for years before this, we've done this without a machine. They're not going to spend $4,500 or more than that probably on you for a machine. That's out of date, except for these old mixer trucks. I said, if you don't understand where you're at, I was like, we're going to be tying a rebar down just on the side of these fenders of these trucks, right, with bungees. Yeah. So if losing your 609 is what you're worried about, right, you can just go home now, because I'm telling you, you clearly don't understand how it operates in the real world, not at a dealership. right?
Right.
With trucks, I was like, you're going to see every one of these drivers every day for potentially the rest of your life if you stay here. And these trucks, right? These are your babies now.
Yep.
And we're going to do shady shit all day long. You know, not the word. We've been saying that on the internet, I know. But, it's not, we're going to be doing shade tree shit too.
Right.
And I just laughed because the look he gave me, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, this dude has never worked on a truck at a dealership and sent it out 100% the way it came in. I know he hadn't. And, of course, as the week went on and into the next week is I don't know. Like I said, he's still there to this day, and he's doing all right, but he's doing just like the rest of them is. Whatever he does, I either do it very openly or I try to quietly go and double check everything that's done and
Right.
issues. But that's what you're getting at your dealerships. You guys already know that. The chat already freaking knows that, right? Like literally, the chat already knows what I'm saying. But
Well, I mean, we run into that when because Jeff and I were both trainers, right?
mm-hmm.
And we used to run into damn near that same thing. Well, look, man, I just finished school, and I know that I'm supposed to do this and this and this, and what you're telling me doesn't make sense. And I'm like, we're trying to now teach you how to actually make money in the real world, bro.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, we're not trying to teach you to be shady, but we're trying to teach you how to make money.
Yep.
And there was little things like that I'm sure Jeff did. I can't speak for him, but hey, do it this way instead because it saves you time, and whatever, right? And the guys that are, coming into the owner op thing, we're like, hey, maybe try this instead of doing it that way because that way would be the company way. This way is your company way.
Yep.
And when you're paying for all that stuff, you will start getting a little more creative. Not saying, go the cheapest route, but be smart about it. I mean, when we had you on the show not too long ago talking about maintenance, there are some things you can do and get away with that are okay enough for now. And there are some things you don't cheap out on.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, you have. It's a judgment call, right? I told a funny. I can tell you another funny story about this freaking kid I literally was at my wit's end about. That's why I did the live feed. But it's common sense. It comes down to common sense, and I don't know. I think most 20-something-year-olds' common sense is if they have good common sense, it's even different than what our common sense is. Right?
Yeah, no, there's an absolute lack of it.
However you want, or however you want to break that word down or that phrase down. Our yard is set up. We have a 2-bay shop. Again, we're not super busy on trucks breaking down. But we're super busy on loading out concrete, right? We're very productive this time of year, which I think most concrete places are in the Midwest this time of year. This is our super busy season, even though it's wet. And all our bulk trucks back in right next to our shop, and that you can put them 2 deep, right, to unload fly ash or cement powder, right, with main ingredient when you're concrete. And they come in at all hours of the night. Obviously, half the time they come in at night. I mean, I don't see them, right? I just know remnants of them being there the next morning, or know because our bins or our hoppers are full. But I made it, from day one. Which I mean, when this happened, we're a week and 3-4 days into training. Mind you, that he was sick on day 4, technically.
Of course,
right? I don't know the last day that I called off even to lie that I was sick. Which I told him I knew because the next day he showed up without a car. Somebody dropped him off, and I said, "Look, I know you're new, but if your car doesn't start, right? If your piece of shit Honda doesn't make it to work, just call and tell me that your car's broke down, right? Don't lie and say you're sick,
right?"
And he laughed, but I knew that's what it was because then the next day he showed up with his car, right? That's 100% what happened. It is what it is.
No mechanics can't maintain their own vehicles.
Yeah, no, listen, I don't. I have automatic, lift gate cylinder on my Exploder out there that has a 4x4 right now. That was measured precisely to open the door and prop it open, right? Instead of changing the cylinder out. just so anybody that sees me on the side of the road, that's what is holding up my lift gate. But I told him, I was like, just be honest, right? But we don't park trucks per se on the right side of our shop because that's where the bulk trucks come in. And I told him, and I assume he's seen the trucks come in and out, and at random times. And sure enough, Monday morning, yesterday at like 4:45 in the morning, I get a phone call, and this shouldn't wake me up. I turn my volume off, but I keep the vibrate on my phone just in case. And hey, do you know where the keys are to 537? Because it's parked in front of our loader, or the loading. And I went home early because the kid had been there a week and a half. So I said, and I didn't go in on Saturday like I normally do. And, I told him, hey, you lock up. This is your baby. If you want to burn a couple hours on Fridays, I try to take off like 2:30 or 3. If you want to burn some hour or make some hours, just lock up, right? It's on you. If you're in here fucking off, they'll see it on the cameras. And one of his things he did was I don't even know why he parked the truck there. I asked him. It was a truck that was in a D rate, but it was movable, and so it was on our line. Like I have a side line of trucks we're working on, and it could have just as easily been parked over there, way out of the way across the yard, but it wasn't. And then he took the keys out of it because it was in a D rate, and he didn't want anybody to drive it. And I told him when he came in, I said, listen, these drivers, while being dumb, sorry truck drivers, while being dumb, when they get in it and it won't idle above 1,000 RPMs or 1,100 RPMs, and the AC won't, the blower, there's not enough RPM to get the AC cold. While they might try to drive it at a low RPM, they will not drive it if the AC is not blowing cold, because the RPM won't get up. So you don't have to worry about them pulling off and loading or something stupid, because they're not going to drive it because the AC don't work. So, but yeah, I mean, that's that common sense. I was like, all you had to do, you could have parked it in front of one of the garage doors, but that's the world we're in. And like I said, this kid came from dealerships, right? That's what he's worked at three of the, I don't know, I think there's 5. I guess there's 5 technical big ones in our area here in this Indianapolis area. He's worked at 3 out of the 5. So God only knows what he did or didn't do if your truck filtered through him, right? But I mean, he didn't. He did a PM and forgot to grease any U-joints, which means he just didn't go underneath the truck 100%, right? Because our trucks are all U-joints. They're all, front live axles, transfer cases, right? They're all U-joints. They're all big drive lines, right? That's the whole underneath side of a front discharge mixers is U-joints and drive lines. So I don't know, man. I do not know.
So we got another guy since.
I'm reading it right now.
I'm gonna see if I can get him in here.
Yeah, I was looking at it a minute ago, and then I kind of quit, but now I'm reading it again. And honestly,
Matt, if you want to hop in here, I sent it to you in our group chat.
Oh, Terry's in here causing trouble. I thought you blocked Terry last week.
No, Terry just got timed out.
No,
I don't do blocking, man.
We don't do that here.
Oh, let's see here. Let's see. We'll read. I'm seeing the word spark, so I misread the bill. It wasn't 470. Blah blah blah. Truck country here in New Hampshire or Hampshire, Illinois. I don't know what truck. I mean, I guess I know what truck country is, like a truck stop, right? Am I correct about that? I mean, I guess Matt will be telling us.
I'm trying to get him in. We'll see if he pops.
Yeah,
in.
no, you're good. Pulling the dash.
Jump in. We got 10 minutes, Matt. You better move.
Yeah, so we've got problems with a Kenworth, a Freightliner, and a Volvo.
And a Volvo.
Yeah.
It's the week for maintenance issues, man. Hey, Matt.
What's up?
Hey, Matt.
What's happening, Matt?
Oh, nothing. Just dealing with a fun time here.
All
Yeah,
right, break it down, Matt. Go.
Yep.
Go. Go what? Go full swift? Yeah.
All right, tell us what happened,
So
because I'm reading through it, so I'm catching up.
All right. So yeah, I got my brand new truck on what was last month? May
Mhm.
30th, the last day of the month. Got my new truck. Day I picked it up, I had to get a new windshield put in it because it had a chipped windshield. Took it home. That took all day. But I came back the following week on Tuesday to go back out on the road. I go to pick up an empty trailer, and this is when I picked up the first trailer. Noticed that the clearance lights weren't working on the trailer as soon as I hooked everything up. And I was wondering, well, what the hell's wrong? So I checked my fuses, and first, the natural thing to do. Okay, it blew fuse 15. Pulled that fuse out, put a new one in. Pop! What the hell? Turn the headlights off, pull the old one out, put a new one in, turn the headlight, pop! What the fuck? Unplugged. I unplugged the trailer, thinking, okay, is there a short or something in the umbilical or something? Or in the trailer itself? Well, unplug the trailer, put a new fuse in, do it all over again. Pop! Well, what the fuck? Unplug the umbilical from the back of the truck, same thing. Pop, as soon as I turned the headlights on. And their tech here said he put a new fuse in. It didn't pop, but yet had my dash all tore apart yesterday and everything else, and they said they can't get the fuse to pop. And I said, oh, well, that sounds like y'all can't find the issue because you're not looking hard enough or something. I know a wiring
Right.
issue can take a while to find, but yeah.
So that everything tore apart, put it back together, and now it's not popping.
And it's $970 in
Right, Donna.
labor for that technician just to have looked and tried to diagnose that. Because
Yep.
the warranty won't cover it since I didn't find an issue. And I asked, well, what if it does it again and I take a video and I bring it back? Am I going to get reimbursed for this? Because technically, Swift's going to want to eat my hide for that cost.
Right.
So are y'all going to pay me back for basically saying you're a liar? When in fact I wasn't lying?
Hey, it's a Volvo. You said it's a Volvo, right?
Oh, hell no.
No, it's a
No,
Freightliner.
Here's a Freightliner.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Craig is the Volvo guy.
Right.
I'm the Freightliner guy. But yeah, all I can do is smile right now. I'm trying to keep myself from flipping out.
Well,
Oh,
so on the Freightliner, Jeff probably knows this more. Is they on for your lights? That's up on the firewall, right?
Yep.
There's a cab whatever, a cab box up on the dash. I mean the firewall. That's where all that pulls from.
Yeah.
Okay. I would assume there's a relay up in there associated to. I'm doing my AI Google assistant. I'm just trying to see, because I wonder if the tech not knowingly just went in and like switched a relay or something stupid like that right out the gate, and that fixed the problem, but it's only fixing the problem because that would have been one of the first things I would do too if it's blowing fuse is if there's a relay associated with it, which the headlight switch should be, but I don't honestly know on a Freightliner. I mean, it should be, right? Because not all relays obviously pull the same, even though, just like a fuse is if you pull a relay from I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that would be a less amp draw when it kicks on.
Right.
AC compressor probably wouldn't be a good, but maybe a fan motor or something, blower motor. So if you have a weak relay, I mean technically lights shouldn't pull that much, right? When you fire them off, especially now
Could
that
it be an intermittent short?
it definitely could be an intermittent. I mean, 100%. The problem is if you're kicking the lights on and you're not moving, then I wouldn't think that
Right.
that vibration would be, because the intermittent, usually you'll see that obviously, driving down the road because you get a weird vibration or something. Yeah, I'm wondering if they changed just swapped out a relay real quick, or even if you put a new relay in it and didn't even think about it. It didn't really.
That's what I was. Yeah, that's what I was on. I said, if your tech put a fuse in it and it didn't instantly pop, what possessed them to even want to go any further than that?
Right. Yep. Hey, did you happen to check on your own and make sure they didn't put a bigger fuse in it or something stupid?
I haven't even seen my truck yet because they're
Oh,
still holding it until the bill gets paid.
Of course they are. Why wouldn't they do that?
It's a 10 amp fuse, and they just dropped a 30 in there and couldn't get it to pop.
Right.
Don't know why.
That was my other thought. Yeah. Well, we know how to make it not blow. Put a 40 amp in there. It blew at it. Blows on the 10, blows on the 15, it doesn't blow on a 25. All right, put a 30 in it. We're good.
Let me show you what I can do with a gum wrapper here. Watch this.
Yep. Let me get let me grab the old paper clip here real quick.
Right.
Yep. Let's do a paper clip trip.
That's good times.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like that sounds super frustrating. The sad part, it goes back to this. I get it that in all these places they have to make money. I get it, right. But one of my biggest issues, and not to make this about me, I guess, but is I have trouble charging people on the side. I have issues charging people as a side job, as doing outside work, because I feel bad if it takes me 3 hours to do something at somebody's house that should clearly take me an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The whole issue with this truck was, this was stuff it was doing all from day one.
Right from the get-go.
And I said, I can't afford to sit still. Well, this ain't really keeping me from making money. I can still make things work, and I've been doing what I had to make the lights work, but it was nothing that affected how the truck ran or drove. It wasn't until Friday when the truck threw a DPF system code and all that, and then all of a sudden, yep, I got no choice. It wants to derate. I got to go to Freightliner now. I said, well, now I got no choice. I'll get all this stuff checked out. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And that seems to be happening more and more on these newer trucks.
Right.
Because Matt, just so you know, Narc, Matt's got less than 7,000 miles on that Freightliner.
Right. Yeah. So it's brand new, like literally brand new.
And Craig has a Volvo with less than that, and he's had his DEF derate like Christmas tree. Oh my God, stuff popping up. I don't know. I think I wonder how many of those use the same manufacturer for some of these sensors, even though they're different engine brands, right? I wonder if in that DEF system there's some sort of crossover or some sort of common ground.
Dude, I think even people that know, that are in the know, right, that would be surprised, including myself, if we knew how much crossover between brands,
right,
of what comes out of the same warehouse, right? It just depends on, like I said, I never knew. This has been years ago now, but I didn't. I say years ago, but a few years ago, probably around the COVID time, I guess I never really knew, and I should have, that like on our mixer trucks, the after treatment was a Cummins system, right? Like I just didn't know that, and that goes for most trucks. Is like for a while Detroit was running Cummins systems. They just weren't tagged as it, and they're no on a truck. Again, you don't see all those parts anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. Our mixers they're you can see them, right? Everything's stacked out there where you can see the emblems and stuff. But anyways,
well, Craig was the one that had bad alignment issue right out of the gate, and they ended up putting a different size U-bolt on the passenger side.
U-bolt and wedge. It came off the factory, Narc.
And the spring.
Yeah, and a spring noticeably lower, way lower on one side versus the other side. And they're like, oh, yeah, this is a manufacturing problem. So we're just going to stick a wedge in here that's going to require a longer U-bolt. And you'll be fine, bro. Don't worry about it.
Yep, it will ride just fine, right? It won't be a problem until
Not
you
going to eat
gotta
up tires or anything. It'll be fine.
Yep, until you go get your first alignment, and and you got to put springs in it. No one will know. I promise.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, it's crazy, man. Well, Mike, thanks for popping in, man.
You're welcome,
Matt,
man.
thanks for popping in.
Sorry
Sorry we
that-
don't have any good fixes.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're tapping me on the shoulder. Oh, your truck's ready now. You can go.
Right.
They're ready to get rid of me.
yeah, that sucks. That's the horror story end of it. That no one, you don't know until it happens, right? So it is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna bounce out.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. You guys, you know the drill. Anytime. Anybody else in the channel, anytime. I appreciate you guys.
Oh,
Well, hopefully they
Hey.
get you out of there.
Right.
oh, he's already come out here and waved at me. Yeah, we got the payment. You're done. Just come and
Oh,
sign the
geez.
paperwork.
Hey, make sure you look at the fuse.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna check the fuse and everything. Yeah, I don't know where I'm gonna go, but I'm probably gonna stay here tonight and see if I can't make the fucking pop.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
And then when I make it pop, I'm gonna be recording it and here. Now y'all called me a liar the other day. I did it.
They're gonna say you're sabotaging.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, so now you, yeah, well, okay. Yep, I'm sabotaging stuff.
All right, Matt. Good luck, brother. We're gonna get out of here.
All right, y'all be safe. Have fun.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Jeff, your time.
Keep that rubber side down, and remember, with no action, there is no traction.
Y'all take care of each other. Look after each other. There's no one out here looking after us but us. And we'll see you next week right here at 6 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday, like every week. And next week's show is mid-year trucking check-in. What to tweak, dump, or double down on. Kind of profit review, goal resets, and smarter business strategy for the back half of 25. That's what we're gonna be talking about next week. Hope to see you then. We'll see you guys again. Thank you, love y'all, and thanks for people popping in. Sage and everybody. Sage, now you can't attack us, man. You can't slam us. We did the thing you said we had to do, or you were gonna eat our faces or something like that. Anyhow, Donna, sorry for the language, and we'll see y'all very soon.